Hey y'all, and welcome back. It's raining outside and it's been raining a lot this week. So I'm just going to be working indoors today and I'm going to be in the kitchen. I plan to make a Granny Smith apple pie, show you how to make applesauce as well as how to make apple cider vinegar. So let's go. Hey y'all, so here you're gonna start with your apples and you want to peel them. All of your scraps, the peels, the cores, the seed of the apple, you set aside in a separate bowl because we're going to be using those later to make the apple cider vinegar. So these apples are done being peeled. Now you want to core them and cut them into about eighths or about this size depending on how large your apples are. These were smallish Granny Smith apples. I have linked down in the description a recipe that I was following, so if you want to follow this recipe, it's down there. I also have the instructions for how to make the apple cider vinegar that I've made, and in addition to that, I also have a recipe for applesauce. Alright, so I have put the apples in the pie crust just to see how many I needed, and then the rest I'm setting aside for the applesauce. Okay, let's get our ingredients together for the apple pie. You're going to need half a lemon and you're going to squeeze it. You're also going to be using the rind later, so don't throw that out. Here comes our sugar. You need cinnamon and brown sugar, as well as nutmeg and flour for the flavor of this pie. Something I did like about this pie is it wasn't too tart, it also wasn't too sweet, so I really like the balance of the flavors in this recipe. Alright, now here is the rind of the lemon. You want to grate it, and the little bits that you get from it, you're going to collect those and toss them in your bowl. Now that we have all the ingredients in our bowl, we're going to go ahead and mix it. And I thought I mixed mine thoroughly enough, but when we went to eat the pie, there were some bites that had a little bit more cinnamon than others, so I would err on the side of over mixing your apples with all the ingredients. Okay, now when you go to fill your pie, make sure that you've taken a fork and you want to poke through the pie crust on the bottom and the edges, and that's going to just help make the crust cook well. And these are store-bought crusts, and the better one I actually used for the bottom crust, and this top one, it wasn't formed well from the factory, so I did my best to take it out. It's okay if it breaks. What I did is I pulled out what I could and put it into place, and then I took all the little scraps and molded them together and rolled them out to cover the holes that I had on the pie. So it's not the prettiest pie, but it turned out just fine, as you'll see. Once you have your pie crust on the top, you're going to pinch the top crust to the bottom crust along the sides. I use my fingers, but you can also use a fork to do this. After you have sealed the crust together, take some beat egg and you're going to brush it over the top. You'll notice that I cut slits in the top of this pie as well, which the recipe calls for. Then you're going to take a spoon and you're just going to sprinkle some sugar over the top of the pie. Lastly, before you put it in the oven, you want to take tin foil and cover the edges. So you can just take tin foil, I just tore it down to size and then shaped it along the edges. Once that's done, it's ready to go in the oven. So I have had a mess in my oven before. I put a baking sheet underneath the apple pie so that way any of the juices that spill out as it cooks go on the tray and not in the oven. So I only have a tray to clean and not my entire oven. Notice in the recipe it calls for you to drop the temperature down to 375, remove the coverings on the crust, drop it down from 400 down to 375, and then you're going to cook it for 30 to 35 minutes longer. Let it cool, then eat and enjoy. Okay, let's take those scraps that we set aside. They're going to be the peels, the seeds, every piece of the apple that you did not put in the pie. You're going to put in a jar, fill it about halfway, and then you're going to take water, and for every cup of water that you cover the apples with, you will put a teaspoon of sugar. I didn't fill this jar all the way to the top because this wasn't the original jar I was planning to use, so I kind of eyeballed it. Hopefully it will turn out fine. So this jar, actually, after the first use of it, the top of the jar cracked. So I've been looking for a use for it, which this is perfect because it's not going to be stored in this container long term. We are just making the apple cider vinegar in this, and then like a month. This is not just 2 weeks. This will take like a month. We'll be straining it and putting it into the bottles we're going to store the apple cider vinegar in, but I just need a large vessel right now to get the fermentation going. So this actually works perfect even though it's cracked, and I did remove the lid, and I need to stir it each day. So here I am stirring it, and now we are ready to make applesauce. Alright, here's our apples, and then we have 3/4 cup water. We add 1/4 cup of sugar, and then we will be adding a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. The recipe doesn't call for it, but I like just a dash of nutmeg also. Then we're going to cook for 15 to 20 minutes on medium heat. Stir the apples, let it cool, and then it's ready to be served. This is definitely the easier of the 3 recipes. I hope you guys enjoy.